Hey, what's everyone? What's up, everyone? Welcome to another Basement Radio Arcade, another Brap rant. I said earlier in the week that I might do a rant if some news dropped or something happened in the gaming community, and sure enough, something has happened. And spent kind of the better half of the morning having discussions with folks on Twitter about an article by Forbes' own Paul Tassi. Paul seems to get a lot of flack from the gaming community. I'm not sure why. I don't always agree with his opinions on things, but that's fine. We don't have to. And it's interesting. I had this conversation with Boom, Mr. Boomstick XL. Big shout out to Boom. Please check out his channel, Double Barrel Gaming, if you haven't done so already. Boom and I don't agree on this, and that's fine. But you know what? Because we share different opinions, we don't look at each other as the enemy. And it's unfortunate because a lot of the times I think in the gaming community, what you see is if you have a difference of opinion, you're not on my side, therefore you're the enemy. Wish we could all have civil dialogue, understanding that we can still have a personal relationship or whatever relationship we have. We all have a common bond. The one common bond we have to is that we all love gaming, and that bond of gaming, that love for gaming, should break or go beyond identity politics or brand loyalty. And unfortunately, it doesn't. It really doesn't. But and I think that's kind of evident what's going on here with what Paul Tassi's article about Rage 2. I'll get to that in a little bit. Hey, what's up, Envy of a Story, D Truth, Iron Bagel, what's going on, man? Great to see you guys here in the live chat. Um, if you haven't read this article yet, uh, Paul Tassi of Forbes wrote out a piece yesterday, and the title of the piece is "If you don't know Bethesda's Rage 2 is coming out in 4 days, I wouldn't blame you." And he basically goes on to say that, hey, he plays video games, writes for them for about writes about them for a living, and that requires him to scour the internet on his computer or phone 14 hours a day sourcing stories. And he said he was genuinely surprised to find out until yesterday that he had no idea that Bethesda's Rage 2 comes out in just 4 days. Comes out the 14th, so it's releasing in 3 days. And so when I read the opening paragraph of his article, I actually thought to myself, "Oh wow, I didn't know." Myself, I'm a YouTube podcaster. I'm a hardcore gamer. I'm a fan of most of Bethesda's games, except Fallout 76, which I think was a tremendous miss for Bethesda and a PR nightmare for Bethesda with bad gate and the whole issues of the game not working correctly and the bugs and content or the game not reflecting some of the words that were some of the things that were said about the game at E3. Some of those things didn't come to fruition. So there's that. But yeah, I was surprised. I didn't know. I mean, I obviously I knew Rage 2 was coming out in May. I just didn't know when. And truth be told, outside of I think the last article that I read about the game, um, or article that I saw was in Game Informer, and I didn't really, after that, really didn't pay any much attention. I haven't seen any articles. I haven't seen much advertisement, television advertisement, print media advertisement in the game. As a matter of fact, I just pulled up the last Game Informer, the most recent issue of Game Informer, and there's nothing other than in what's releasing for the month of May. You'll see Rage 2 and Plague Tale Innocence, uh, which Iron Beagle says that he's looking forward to in the live chat. And but that's it. There's no advertisement that I see in Game Informer, and I haven't seen anything on TV. Now that's not to say that other people haven't seen it. I know, and seeing some of the comments on Twitter that other people have said, "Oh yeah, I've seen lots of advertisement," but I haven't. And if you go to GameStop's applicate their web app on your phone, um, you have to swipe 4 times to actually get to the Rage 2 page. So Rage 2 is even buried under or inside the GameStop app, which is kind of strange to me considering how big of a franchise or title this was last generation for Bethesda. I just find it a little odd that it's kind of buried in the GameStop app, and even in my local GameStop, there aren't any. You know, I haven't seen any Rage 2 advertisement. It's all Mortal Kombat, Borderlands 3, the Yoshi, the recent Yoshi game, and Days Gone. That's primarily what I see advertised, hanging up, um, posted at my local GameStop. But I don't see Rage 2. Deep True says I see mostly gameplay on YouTube. Yeah, I would, I know that people have. I haven't seen any gameplay um, of the game on YouTube. The game hasn't popped up on my YouTube feed at all. So yeah, I mean, I just it just hasn't. For whatever reason. Irrelevant Native, what's going on, man? It says Rage 2 will be a decent title. Yeah, it may be a decent title. The first one was good. My what I remember the first one was that it was more heavily advertised than this one. And I live in Washington D.C. And for those you don't know, ZeniMax Media, parent company of Bethesda, Bethesda is actually headquartered close to where I live. Their headquarters are probably about 20 minutes from my house, believe it or not. And anytime they release a title, a AAA title, Bethesda does, they advertise heavily locally here, believe it or not. At the if you our mass transit system is called Metro. You'll see a lot of advertisement at metro stations, on the side of metro buses, inside the subways stations. You'll see advertisements. I haven't seen any of that. They've did it for Fallout 76. They've done it for every other big release that I remember, and so it's kind of odd. Dietrich says my GameStop has a poster of Rage 2 in it. Yeah, and I'm sure it does. I just haven't seen that. Like my local GameStop doesn't have a poster of it. Um, so I think two things here. I think that you know, for some people, you either haven't seen it or aren't aware of it, and for others, you probably have seen it or probably knew that the game was releasing on the 14th of May. Um, and so it's interesting. Paul puts us out. That hey, I just found out. I understand there's review copies um, that are out there. I haven't received my review copy yet. I've seen people criticize this, saying, "Hey, if you're a Paul Tassi, if you're a journalist, gaming journalist, you need to know, or how come you don't know that this game's releasing May 4th or May 14th? Shame on you. You're not a journalist. You're a fake journalist." I mean, I've seen that criticism levied against it. I mean, you know what? It's easy for us to make that assumption, but we don't know what Paul is. I know he mentioned he's looking for stories, sourcing stories. We don't know what kind of stories he's looking for. He does a lot of opinion pieces. We don't know what he's interested in writing. We don't know what games he's tasked to cover. He may not be the guy that's in charge of keeping track of Rage 2. He may not be the guy that reviews it. And with review copies, that's not always the exact indicator that we know of an exact release date. He hasn't received a copy. We do know that review copies can come out 2 weeks, a month ahead of time, a week, the week of. So I think it's easy for a lot of people to quickly criticize Paul and say, "Oh, well, he needs to be in the know." That's easy for us to say. We're not in his seat. We don't know what's going through his mind. We don't know exactly what um, he's covering or what he's researching. Um, he may have not been interested in Rage. He admitted to not playing the first one, although he did say that um, he was looking forward to the game most of the year after what he saw at E3 a year ago, and he's saying he's seen relatively little promotion for the game, and I agree with him. The game's coming out. in 4 days, and I wasn't. Hey, what's up? Don't call me Danny. I haven't seen much in the way of the games coming out in 4 days. And I go back to this being a Bethesda game. I think it's kind of odd that Bethesda isn't pushing this game a little harder, because I'm not the only one. And there's other people. If you go to the Reset Era forums, there's quite a few people there that even admit, "Hey, oh, I didn't know this game was coming out in 4 days." And there's other people that say, "Oh, yeah, I knew it was coming out on the 14th." But look, this is what Paul is writing about is what Paul's sharing an opinion piece. This is Paul's column. He is writing about how he feels or what he's thinking of a certain subject matter, in this case, Rage 2. And people are quick to jump on him and crucify him for sharing his feelings or his thoughts about this particular game. He's not bashing the game. I've heard people say he's being disingenuous. He's being backhanded. He's being an ass. And reading this, I don't get any of that. He's not saying the game sucks. He's just saying, hey, it's strange that considering that considering and if you consider that Rage was the previous Rage was actually a decent game, and this is Bethesda's like next big release, and they won't have anything big releasing for maybe till next gen. I think that there isn't a little more advertising and push behind this game. And I agree with them. Again, I haven't seen a lot of the advertisement that people are saying. And I'm not saying that it's not out there. Um, but what I'm saying is I've had the similar experience that Paul has. And so I don't see this as a slight of being like making backhanded comments or being an ass or trying to take a jab at Rage 2. I saw someone say, "Oh, he's taking a jab at Rage 2." Well, what would Paul Tassi of Forbes benefit from by taking a jab at Rage 2? Is he going to get more money by taking jabs? Is he going to get more followers by taking jabs? No. And he also mentions that it's a weird time for Bethesda. A studio in need of some good news. Now, some people get triggered by that because they're Bethesda fans. And they feel, look, I'm a Bethesda fan, but I'm not triggered by what he just said. And if you think about what he's saying here, this is a weird time for Bethesda. The studio needed some good news because look, based on Fallout 76, that's their worst reviewed title. And it released broken. It had just terrible. It was a public relations nightmare. So he's not exactly off base here, considering the debacle that was Fallout 76. I mean, if I went out there and I said, geez, BioWare could surely use a good game release and some good news. I don't think I'd be off base by saying that, considering the mess that is Anthem today. Now, I think when people hear stuff like this and they're a fan of something, they automatically get defensive. And I don't understand this mindset of getting defensive. It's because Paul Tassi says is in need of good news, and he's not aware of Rage 2 um, releasing in 4 days. Doesn't mean that it's a jab at you personally. It doesn't mean that you can't like the game or can't be hyped for it. It doesn't mean that the game is going to suck. But I guess we live in an era now where people can't have civil discord. Identity politics have bled into the gaming community. Gaming's become politicized by the gaming community. And it's at a point now where it seems like if the media doesn't agree with your own personal biases, they're the political enemy. Now, I, for one, will never understand that rationale. I don't think that way. I try to approach things as open minded as possible because while you might have a difference of opinion than me, it doesn't mean that you're the enemy in my mind. It means that we have different viewpoints. And that's it. We do. We have different likes, we have different dislikes. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us unique. That's what makes us individuals. But it doesn't mean that we can't have a civil discord. Doesn't mean that, we have to prove each other right or wrong. It's just funny. And I'm going back to his article and I've read it a few times and I just don't see the big deal. I don't see all the anger over this. Um, it's just and look and Bethesda they recently had a takedown. Paul Tassi mentions this. Bethesda had to recently take down an Elder Scrolls adventure when it was revealed it had been plagiarized from Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, so there hasn't been some good fortune levied in Bethesda's way, and I think that's kind of what he's getting at. Hey, geez, I didn't even know, and I'm in the media that this game is 4 days away. And people are, oh, well, how can you not know if you research 14 hours? You don't know what he's researching. You're not on Paul's computer. You don't know what Forbes has him working on. You don't know what he's chosen to working on. It's easy for us to Monday morning quarterback. And at the end of the day, it's not the media's job to sell these games. It's not the media's job to market these games. It's not the media's job to make you feel good about your own purchases. It's not the media's job to confirm your own biases. If you like a game, you like it. Shouldn't matter what Paul Tassi says about the game that you like. It's Bethesda's responsibility to get the word out. Why is it that a game that's releasing 3 days from now is 4 tabs in the GameStop online web store? Why is that? Why don't I see more Rage 2 commercials on TV? Why in the latest Game Informer is there no advertisement for the game? That's Bethesda's job. Don't call me Danny. He says you're always going to piss someone off with an opinion. You just have to learn not to care because people no longer how to have a civil discord. People worry about stupid stuff. Or some guy says people worry about stupid stuff. Abby of a story says too many people are easily triggered these days. Opinions are like buttholes. Everyone has them. It's true. People, opinions are like assholes. Everyone does have them. And I don't agree with this notion that someone said that gaming journalists aren't more important than game developers, et cetera, et cetera. We can't treat these guys like gods. I don't know. I don't view journalists as gods. Um, and it's interesting. There's this mistrust of gaming journalism that's been around for quite some time, and I just remember it from um, my days as a moderator at the GameStop forums and having access to a lot of the journalists. Greg Kasavin was there at the time. Um, um, I forget his name, Gino Del Carlo, I think his name was. Who else was there? I'm trying to think of all the people that were. Anyhow, um, so in talking to a lot of these media types, just when you hold on a second, guys. Give me just a sec. I need to pull something up here and I can't find it. There was something else that I found that was interesting regarding the whole Paul Tassi thing. And now, for whatever reason, I cannot find it. Don't Call Me Today says Rage 2 has had marketing since last year. Is also a game from a cover story. No, yeah, no, you're right. I mean, what I'm saying is it's not. I haven't seen it marketed as much as I would think that a game so close to release would. I I think Don't Call Me Daddy. I think what Paul and some of us think and have seen is that there's the point is that some of us didn't know a game was releasing in 4 days, and to me that's because a lack of marketing. I knew Days Gone was coming out because it was in my face every day. Knew when the release date was. Saw it on TV. Saw it. Saw magazine articles or advertisement for it. Um, yeah. So I was able to at GameStop. I was able to talk to a lot of these journalists because when you're a forum moderator, you do have at the time at least at GameStop we were able to communicate through in mail with some of the um, journalists because they get attacked by fanboys and stuff and whatnot, and they would alert us. But we got to talk shop with them, and I talking to like guys like Jeff Gertzman, Ryan Davis, guys like um, uh, Greg Kasavin, that were writing at the time for GameStop. The one thing that you came away with was that they were so passionate about gaming. I mean, they were passionate in ways that I couldn't even that I sometimes I was like, wow, like this guy's he knows so much about gaming history and games, and he's just so passionate about it, and he comes through. It's interesting. It's very interesting. And so I think a lot of the times these guys, they're writing from the heart. They're writing, what they're feeling, their thoughts, and that is a part of journalism. It's opinion pieces, or columns as we this is formerly known in journalism. And um, look, do journalists get it wrong sometimes? Yes, people are not infallible. I mean, gaming journalists are humans. They don't get it right sometimes, but it isn't all the time, and it's interesting. It's couple things that I see in the gaming community. It's media bias. It's gaming journalists are terrible. They lie. They get it wrong all the time when they write something that you don't agree with, that doesn't confirm your own personal biases. It's clickbait. Things are clickbait titles when it's an article that we don't personally like. It's like, really? D True says Sony's on another level when it comes to marketing. Yeah, they are. They absolutely are. I don't think there's any argument there. Um, so Paul Tassi, just kind of move on here with what happened in the aftermath of his tweet. So he tweets out the article, and he basically hold on a sec here. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get caught up with some things. So Paul Tassi tweets out his article. If you don't know, Bethesda's Rage 2 is coming out in 4 days. I wouldn't blame you. So Paul Tassi tweets the link out to the article. The Twitter handle account for the game Rage 2, which you can follow on Twitter at Rage Game, replies to Paul Tassi saying, LOL, who even are you? And this immediately opens up the floodgates. So now you have people dunking on Paul Tassi. I'm sure a lot of these people didn't read the article, just read the click, or just read the I was going to say the clickbait. Just read the title of the article. And it just goes on from there. Now, I got to say, I got to be frank. I'm actually surprised that Rage 2 would respond in that way, because it kind of opened up the doors for people to really have at it and dunk on Paul Tassi. Whether you think he deserves it or not is not the point. I think that they could have gone about that in a better way than they did. I don't know who's running the Rage 2 account, but not a good look in my opinion. And I thought that what they could have said is, "Hey, Paul, you know what? Yeah, it does come out in 4 days. Looking forward to it. Yada yada yada." Now, what's come out of this now is that Rage 2 is being discussed a lot now. So, what Paul Tassi's recently what he just recently wrote today was that, his argument with the Rage 2 account on Twitter has kind of led to um, him inadvertently marketing the game, which it has, because now you have people that are talking about it. I mean, I was on Twitter debating with individuals back and forth about Paul's article, but um, this rage culture, this need to label gaming journalism as evil, as um, unfair. I'm telling you guys, I only see it happen when it's something that's a story or an opinion piece that people don't agree with. And I got to be honest with you, I don't ever want to see journalists, and this is why, and not to politicize this, but this is the scary thing about our current president of the United States, Donald Trump, where he labels fake news media and tries to censor um, and discredit media and tries to ban media from press conferences. That to me is a slippery slope. I don't ever want to see journalists feel that they cannot honestly express their own feelings and opinions because of the backlash and hate from a community, or that they're the enemy. Because journalism is, look, we talk about freedom of press, freedom of speech. Those things are, at least in the US, those things are, you know, those things are bound together, those two rights. And I don't want to see people censor media because they don't agree with what media is saying. That's a scary thing to me. That's censorship. That's not what this country was founded on, the principles of this country. I don't believe that. I believe, and look, we don't have to agree with what Joe Schmo says from ABC gaming outlet, but he is exercising his right to express something that he feels. And you know what? If you don't agree with it, we can have healthy discord or healthy chat about it. We don't have to villainize these people because we don't agree with them. That's the scary part. When we start villainizing people that have a different look or sound different than us or share difference of opinions, that's scary. That's scary. We know what that leads to. You go back in history and look at divisiveness, and look at tribalism and the impact that can have. Anyhow, I don't want to get off on a I don't want to politicize this, but I just wanted to get that off get that off my chest. But yeah, very interesting. I mean, it's something that really sparked some outrage. Daniel Beast in the live chat says, "I'm hyped for Rage. I rushed to get my Platinum Days Gone just to be ready for Rage." That's funny. I still have not gotten Days Gone. I need to pick that up at some point. Don't Call Me Danny says, "When you have a president who talks that way, that's going to bleed in society. You know what? Don't call me Danny. I totally agree with you. Um, and it's interesting. The people that I see on Twitter that are really, really anti media and say the gaming media is trash and they're unprofessional. Um, those people are sound very much like POTUS does. Um, don't call me Dan says people don't know their history, so there's bound to repeat mistakes. Yeah, that's true. We should never forget history. I mean, history is the great teacher. I sound like my parents now. um, so the outrage on this has been just crazy, and I don't think Paul deserved a lot of the criticism that was levied against him. If you don't agree with him, fine. But to sit there and say that this is a hit piece and that he was being an asshat, that's uncalled for. That's not what he was doing here. You want to call somebody an asshat for um, being honest about their feelings and about a situation that other people confirm that they've had that similar experience. So Paul isn't a one-off here. If you go to if you go to, like I said, if you go to Reset Era and you look at the and I should have provided the link in the description below the podcast description. But if you go to Reset Era, you'll see that the thread for this particular topic. Excuse me. You'll see that there's other people out there who weren't aware that this game was releasing in 4 days. So Paul is not out of bounds here by any stretch of the imagination. And again, I'll say this to you: if you've had a different experience, that's fine. Doesn't mean that the other people are wrong for having a different experience. And that's the issue that I'm seeing here. People are condemning this guy. Well, I didn't have that same experience. I knew it was coming out in 4 days, and you're gay media. What the hell's wrong with you? Yeah. Okay. It's easy to Monday morning quarterback guy. Um, and it's just one of those things that, it's people have difference of opinions, and here we are. People are um, getting nasty with somebody for having different opinions, and it's just more. There's more important things to put energy into. I saw somebody say that. It's okay that Paul Tass is getting dunked on. No one finds Forbes to be a credible gaming site. Tassie's really just a clickbait writer anyway. I mean, he'll find something to rag on because he's edgy. I mean, that's like some conspiracy theory. That's like some conspiracy theory shit. Like really, like you have that much fucking time on your hand to think about that, to think about whether that a guy wants to be edgy. No, guy's just fucking sharing his opinion on something. It's not like people, I think, way overthink the whole media thing. Like there's some kind of conspiracy or something. Like, no, there isn't. There isn't this vast media conspiracy to trick us or to be edgy. I mean, people want to write things that they want to write because they are, if you meet journalists, they are very passionate individuals. Often they are very creative individuals and they tap into that passion and that creativity. And that's it. And if you don't like it, don't read it. Now, by all means, if the journalist comes out and they lie about something and they misrepresent facts and they twist things, absolutely take them to task and call them out. But if they're expressing themselves in a viewpoint and their opinion on something, and they're not twisting facts and they're just telling you how they feel, don't rag on them. Would you like someone to rag on you for you coming out and say, hey, you know what? I love pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie is great. Better than cherry pie. Just food for thought. And Nate says during some early controversy, some people in the games media were 2 minutes from getting called out in a parking lot. Remind people, remember what you write can come back on you in the street. Okay. Nate says, I mean, there was a point when some gaming media literally outright attack gamers, and I don't play that. Yeah, I have seen. I think Nate, what's happened. I don't know what situations you're speaking of, but I have seen instances where Guys have just had enough. I mean, I know Ryan McCaffrey has called out the gaming community because he's had enough. He even said, "Hey, you guys want and complain that there isn't real gaming journalism, and then when we present something that's real, you guys pay no attention to it." And and it's true. I mean, Jason Schreier. It's funny. There's one guy that I talked to. I won't name him by name. Um, and I don't have any issues with personal beef with him. I respect his opinions. They're different than mine, but they're his opinions nevertheless. And he has the right to those opinions. So I respect his opinion. Um, I don't agree with him, but he has said that that gaming journalists need to stick to the facts. But then complains when Jason Schreier puts out a investigative article about the development issues at regarding Anthem within Bioware, and he totally says that that article is trash, that it was unnecessary, that it's piling on the game developer, and it isn't fair. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, you're the same guy that wants gaming journalists to present facts. And in fact, Jason Schreier did present facts that were given to him by the people that actually made the video game Anthem. The developers themselves gave Jason this news, gave him the information to write and make that article that he put out. So is it Jason piling on the developers, or is it the developers piling on themselves? I mean, you can't have it both ways. um, it's just this whole thing has just been fast. I've been watching, and I've been plenty of commentary in the whole gaming media, and I know people think that I'm this staunch defender of the media, and that I worship them. I don't. But I've talked to a lot of these guys. I've interacted with them. I've had them on the show. We've had Ryan McCaffrey on. We had Greg Casavant on, who's now at Supergiant Games, who used to be editor in chief at GameStop or GameSpot, excuse me. Um, I've talked to a lot of these guys when I was a moderator at GameSpot, and these guys are passionate. They work their asses off, and I don't always agree with some of the articles that people write, but it's their opinion. But I'm not going to sit there and try to, um, you know, uh, degrade these individuals and trash them. Now if there's something that's egregious, if there's something that's troubling that a journalist writes, um, where I feel the need that because it could be harmful, of course I'll call it out. But what Paul just wrote in this article is not harmful at all. Doesn't harm the game, and more importantly, it doesn't harm you, the individual. Now, it didn't stop. Jason Schreier actually, chimed into what if you guys know anything about Kotaku and Bethesda, they are at odds with each other. Kotaku a few years ago, before the release of Fallout 4, leaked some information about the game, and needless to say, Bethesda, the folks at Bethesda, were not very happy with Kotaku leaking information of the game. Basically, Bethesda was like, you guys don't have the right to do that, et cetera, et cetera. And for the last 4.5 years, Kotaku has been blacklisted by Bethesda. And so Jason Schreier, and to the tweet, Rage 2, the Rage 2 tweet to Paul Tassi, Jason Schreier chimes in, Bethesda's continued disdain for the press is pretty gross. From blacklisting outlets it doesn't like, they haven't responded to a single Kotaku email for 4.5 years and counting, to tweets trying to drag journalists. It's Trump-esque, fitting since a Trump is on ZeniMax board. Now, this actually, Jason Schreier's comments here actually stirred the hornet's nest, especially when you mentioned POTUS and Trump. For those of you who don't know, Donald Trump's brother, Robert Trump, I think it's Robert Trump, Sits on the board of directors for ZeniMax Media. ZeniMax Media is the holding company of Bethesda, and he sits on the board. And so basically, what Jason's referring to here is our own president's. He's drawing comparisons, similarities to Bethesda blacklisting media outlets like Kotaku, drawing parallels to what Donald Trump has tried to do with blacklisting journalists and certain giving access to certain media um, who he may call fake media or whatever the case is. And that's the parallel. And people were trashing Jason, saying, "Why are you bringing Trump into this? You know, this is stupid. This is why he did it." I kind of want to explain that because there's some context here. I think that people are missing to what Jason is discussing here. Now, you could agree or disagree whether Kotaku did Bethesda wrong by sharing or leaking some of the information of Fallout 4 prior to release, but they did. But Kotaku has been blacklisted by Bethesda. Honestly, I think these two should just shake hands and make up. I think, I don't know. Again, I don't know the full story. I don't know how Kotaku came across this information, this leaked information. Maybe it was from somebody internally at Bethesda. I'd have to go back and look. But hey, it's 4.5 years. Maybe they can break some bread. Maybe have a sit down, shake hands, and move on. But who knows? Who knows? So anyhow, again, I think this whole thing's been blown out of proportion. I think that hey, what's going on, Yobi? By the way, follow my man Yobi on Twitter. The guy is one of the most positive dudes on the internet. We had him on Brap a couple episodes ago. Just a good dude, great community member. Yeah, I just think this thing's been blown out of proportion. You could have a difference of opinions, but I think a lot of the hate that Paul's received over this article is just it's not necessary. It's not just here. It's not it's not to be taken personally. And I just think that look, it's fine if you don't agree with what he said. Um, but also know that what he shared in this piece, other gamers have had a very similar experience to what Paul Tassi is describing here. So, on that note, I'm going to wrap up this Brap rant. Just wanted to talk about this topic really quick since it's been kind of a hot button issue on the Twitters. And yeah, everyone, please enjoy your weekend. Get some gaming in. And remember, we'll be back on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So come hang out with us next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Remember, if you haven't done so already, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you're notified when we're getting ready to broadcast and when we have content uploaded on the channel. So, other than that, guys, hey, everyone in the live chat, you guys are all wonderful. Really appreciate you guys coming out and hanging out with me for a little bit today. Seriously, it means a lot to me that you guys take your time out of your day to hang out and listen to my rants. So, on that note, I am out. Everyone, please enjoy the rest of the weekend. A happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there for tomorrow. Spend time with your mom and be close to your loved ones. Love and peace. Enjoy video games, and we'll see you next time.